Hi, I'm Louise, one of the nutrition team at Connolly's Red Mills. And tonight I'm joined by a lady who needs no introduction whatsoever, and that is the fabulous Tina Cook. Thank you so much, Tina, for joining us tonight. Really pleased to have you here. And what we're going to try
That's all right, pleasure.
what we're going to try and focus on a little bit is feeding for temperament and temperament in horses. So I just wanted to have a chat with you. I know that's something you must deal with on a daily basis with your own horses. And obviously in eventing, the horses have to compete in 3 disciplines. So temperament must be a massive challenge. So what do you look for in the ideal event horse?
Oh my goodness, he changed. I mean, trainability, obviously, but I'm starting off with young horses. So sometimes it's very difficult to tell because some of the horses, the more work you do with them, the quieter they get when they understand what you're teaching them to do. And then some of them get hotter if they're, the more work they do. So I very much like to, I enjoy starting them off with young horses, but I like to get the sort of partnership together very early on so that I work out with each horse how to explain. I keep things really quite simple, try not to get too clever. I don't think it's necessary. Horses just need to do the work for the level they're at, rather than trying to do advanced work with a novice horse when they're physically not ready for it and therefore mentally not ready for it. And I'm very much turn the horses out in the field and to keep the feeding quite basic and very consistent for them so that they get really into a routine.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you, when you are feeding those youngsters, do you try and focus the diet very much on the kind of slow release type calories, or does it vary just depending on the individual?
I think in generally, actually, from my point of view, my horses are very sort of similar. They're annoyingly probably quite hot. Because I like the thoroughbred horses, so I generally have those sort of horses, so they naturally have enough energy. I would rarely ever need to use a feed to give them more energy, so I don't even touch any of those feeds, so I have no experience of those whatsoever. So mine would be exactly that, sort of slow release, not because mine are out a lot. They need to be slightly go slow and not go faster. So I keep to sort of horse care 10 is a cube. I find that just fits all, and then so that's sort of my base layer, and then I can add to it if I do have something that needs or that's doing more work. Obviously I'm not going to be feeding the same necessarily to the top class advanced horses to the young horses, but my basic feed is a cube.
Yeah,
and then I go from there.
Yeah, perfect. And so you just vary their calories depending on the work that they're doing and really their personality. So, something like Billy might be getting something that's perhaps, would he still be on slow release, or would you? Does he ever need fizzing up more? Or
no, he never does. So to be honest, I don't know why I said that really, because to be honest, he has quite a good waistline. He's quite a good doer. Saying that, it's that fine line between, they've got to have the fuel to work on. There's no point in starving them, because then not starving them literally, but you know what I mean, cutting their feed back so much, because then they lose the top line and the muscle. So yes, they need the food to counteract the work they're doing, but I don't necessarily give him more heating energy food or go faster stuff, as I would call it, when he gets close to a 3-day, because he naturally runs on fresh air anyway and on adrenaline. So yeah, he would have more to eat, but not necessarily more heating stuff.
Yeah. And I suppose it's the atmosphere and the excitement of the event that gives him that boost without to do it through the diet.
Yeah, exactly.
What would you say to somebody that perhaps is struggling with that aspect, even in terms of getting a horse to settle at an event? So say you've got, a relatively young horse, everything's new, everything's exciting, and they're just finding that actually they're getting, overawed by it all. Is there any sort of tips or techniques that you would use to help settle that horse when, you know, they're at home training or at an event?
You know, as I said, I would still give the horse a feed. I like to add a chaff to their feed to supplement it. But with the horses, like at an event, I would like to let it eat something. You know what I mean? Don't leave its tummy empty. My horses, and I do it, some people have different ways of doing things. I give them a hay net when they're in the lorry, because I think it's good for them, so that you do worry about having ulcers, and when horses are there waiting to do something, if they know something's going on, they're getting agitated. Actually, by just picking at food, at the hay net, they've had their breakfast, whatever time my horses leave home, they're something in their tummy before they're loaded on the lorry. So, you don't want them, when they're getting a little bit agitated or excited, you don't want them to have empty tummies.
Yeah.
So
and in terms of the training at home, is it's obviously important to expose them to as many different experiences as they can, so that they do get used to all the things that go on at these events, and don't find it quite so scary or quite so nerve-wracking.
Oh yeah, I mean, like if the young horses, and if it's a young horse that is a bit on the bright side, I would take it to an event, even if it's not competing, or go and take it for a drive. And like at the moment, I would go and drive it and go and hire an arena and ride them in arenas, so they're not exposed to everything all at once. If they are bright anyway, but I'd probably do it anyway. If they're brighter, then I would do it more, so that it's, when they get on the lorry, it becomes a little bit mundane and a little bit boring, and then they go and jump in the ring. So I would introduce it slowly. I would very rarely, let's say, have so it is a gentle introduction. Basically, none of the horses need to get excited that they're going to a show, not an event horse anyway. Because otherwise it just makes everything so much hard work. And if you are a multiple rider and you get to the event, you haven't got all day to fiddle about taking them for a walk and a graze and put them back in the lorry and pat it and give it a pole and then go and take a god. You've got other horses to ride, and so actually you need to have these possible. And so it's all just going to another competition instead of getting overexcited about the whole thing. The jockeys might get overexcited, like my daughter. I have to do the same sort of thing with her, introduce her slowly, not let her go on to exactly what she wants to do straight away.
It's like with everything, isn't it? A new situation, always new and exciting and shiny. And what about the other end of the scale? So say somebody's, competing at a relatively low level, maybe not in eventing, but in any discipline, and they've got a horse that's too laid back. What sort of tips, from a training point of view, from a riding point of view, can you give to help people? Because those sort of horses can be so frustrating to ride when they just lack that oomph and the get up and go. Is there anything you can do? Obviously, you can't change the character, but is there any sort of tips you can give us on how to give them that little bit of pep?
Yeah, I mean, with those sort of horses, obviously you would increase, their feed and the levels of energy in their feed. But I would do I wouldn't, like some of my bright horses, if I can, I leave them in the field the night before, even if they're going to a competition.
Yeah.
So they come in from the field, let's say at 6 o'clock in the morning or whatever time I'm leaving. They might not stay in the field if I'm leaving at 4 o'clock in the morning, but you know what I mean. They would come in, they go to the show. So in my mind, say like Billy the Red, the less sleep he gets, the better. The windier the evening, absolutely fine by me, because you're going to be a little bit tired, which is fabulous. So those brighter ones, those lazy ones, I probably would the day before. I wouldn't do massive amounts of work with them the day before. I would probably work them 2 days before, and then they have a slightly easier day. I wouldn't give them the day off the day before competition, but they would have a slightly easier day. Whereas actually I'm skipping back to the brighter horses. So quite often with a bright horse, I would probably go and give them a canter at home or do some cantering work. So you actually get a lot of their sort of buzz from the door.
Yeah. And I suppose as well, it's just about keeping that.
If you sort of mean, rather than drilling them on the flat so they feel drilled, I let them have a bit of a blah. So going back to the lazy one, so then I'd sort of slightly do the opposite. I'm quite basic, really. Yeah. I'm not sounding very interesting.
No,
I just try and look at it from a sort of logical point of view, so that the horses enjoy what they do. And so exactly that. So those slightly lazier horses, I probably wouldn't go mad with the food there, because you don't want them to be dampened down with a full tummy. Yes, you'd give them something to eat, but you wouldn't let them eat, loads. Because we all know what it's like. If you have a big lunch, the last thing you feel like getting up and running around and doing something active. Whereas the frisky ones might just calm them down a bit. I do just try and keep it simple, to be honest.
Yeah, no.
I'm probably not giving you the answers that you're wanting.
I'm wanting whatever answers that you're giving, Tina. It's all brilliant. You've so much experience riding so many different types of horses. So it's so interesting to speak about their different characters and learn what works and what doesn't. So and if you've got something that's really excitable, do you use calming supplements on them at all? I know in the past, I think you've used the Foran Equine, the NutriCalm. Do you feel that can help take the edge off or make a difference in terms of focus?
Yeah, I mean, I have used it, and exactly that. I have used it on some of my top horses, and I feel that it can help. It's not going to suddenly make a very bright horse to one that's half asleep, but does it just help a little bit and keeps their attention a little bit in competition? And again, it's like supplements for humans. Some horses you do feel a difference, and then some you're like, not sure if it makes that much difference. So I've had more success with them. So yes, with the bright horses, I automatically feed them during the season with it. Actually, to be honest, I take them off it. Like in lockdown, I wouldn't necessarily have them on it now, because to me it's a waste of money to have it now at home. I would put them on it, a couple of weeks before when competition starts up. And give it to them then, and maybe give them a little bit more in the build up before a bigger competition, or somewhere where I know if they're going to be bright, or an event that holds a lot of atmosphere, I would give them a bit more.
Brilliant.
So yes, it can, it's for some and some horses, it definitely can be very helpful.
Yeah, so I suppose the key is just tailoring everything that you're doing, if you can, towards the individual, and just thinking about what's going to work best with that.
Yeah, and it's knowing your horses, and that's everybody, you need to look after your finances, and there's no point in just putting every horse on the same supplement. You know your horses, you know which ones need a little bit of help physically, some that might need a little bit of help with calming, some need the fattening up and whatever. I said, I have the basic food that I give, and then I either a little bit of increase or not, and then with the additives, the ones that are a bit brighter, I use it for it. So you make it economical, and it's good to use stuff that works. You know what I mean? And it's well made, rather than you can keep buying products that don't work, but if one does work, you stick to it and use it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Tina, I think that's been really, really helpful. I know you've got a lot on this evening. You've probably got horses to feed still, and plenty of jobs to do around. So thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us. I'm sure lots of people will have found that advice really, really helpful. And hopefully we'll look forward to seeing you back out in action sooner rather than later, hopefully.
Yes, well, hopefully something will happen. I've just had my son walk out the door looking at me, wondering what on earth I'm doing, about to say, "Where's my supper?" I put my hand up. No, I'm talking. Look forward to seeing everybody out. And the horses are all ticking over, waiting to get the go ahead, and hopefully it won't be too long to get going. And we're really looking forward to it. Actually getting out, and especially the young horses, and seeing with the lockdown, the extra work we've been doing, putting it all into practice. Yeah. No, look, we all can't wait, and fingers crossed, hopefully it will happen soon. So thank you very much again, Tina, and we'll see you soon. Okay, pleasure. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.